This is Found Revenue with Tom Collins.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Found Revenue podcast, where we talk to business owners who know how to monetize their business from end to end and maximize their profits in ways that most people don't. And so excited to have a special guest today, Dustin Mathews, good friend of mine. We've known each other for well over 10 years, and it was a pleasure to talk to him. We covered some just amazing stuff that you're gonna hear about really in the next couple of minutes. Dustin, we talked about his journey and how he became an entrepreneur and where he found his strengths. And I think it was an unusual process, because that most people, if you know him, you might know, but you might not. And you would go, wow, you were that guy. That's really interesting. We spend some time, obviously, in the Found Revenue space. We talk about Dustin has a really cool process on developing an irresistible offer called the Irresistible Offer Architecture, and he's going to give some keys to that that I think really needed to be brought out. A lot of people don't think about these, and they make a huge difference. And so he gives some really great detail on that. We talk about how Dustin does his marketing research, what he's put together in terms of tools that help him produce very successful campaigns. Just a little bit about Dustin. He years and years ago was with a Inc. 500 successful company called Foreclosures Daily, became their CMO. After starting as an internship, he offered to work for free for them. He's a co-founder of Speaking Empire, and just ended his stint there after a number of years and had huge success, helping thousands and thousands of people learn how to be speakers and learn how to put together, like we said, their offers in a better way. Dustin's one of those guys that has a ton of resources. So we're putting together a bunch of things on the website for you. But Dustin Mathews, been a good friend of mine. You know what? The other area you need to know that I met Dustin is he put together and did all kinds of joint venture promotions for product launches. He's a master at relationships. He's a master at joint ventures. He's a master at product launches. He understands the internet marketing to the nth degree. And so without any further ado, let me just give one quick shout out to the guys at Podkick, podkick.com. They're the guys that produce this podcast for me. They do all the behind the scenes work. They do all the technical, all of the things that I probably could figure out if I took a lot of my time to do, but they just handle it. So Spence, you guys at Podkick, thank you for putting this together. And now, without any further ado, let's talk to Mr. Dustin Mathews. Okay, man. So I just told you all about Dustin, and here he is. Dustin Mathews, my good friend. Thanks for coming, man. I'm speechless.
I love it.
Fired up. I'm actually speechless, which is a rare thing if you know me. But anyway, man, down in Delray, Florida today.
Yeah, Delray Beach.
Yeah, sweet.
Yep.
Hanging out with the sales message guys, formerly known as Call Loop, right?
That's right. Yeah, up to some big things. Yeah,
some cool stuff going on. Some cool happenings. So, anyway, Dustin, most people who are logging on obviously know you, have heard of you. You're an astronaut, rock star, one of the guys. So what I love to do is I'd love to just open up and just go, at what age did you know you wanted to become an entrepreneur, or what shaping experience did you have at a young age where you went, oh, that would be cool?
There's a couple. So you just interrupt me if I'm like,
yeah, bring it on.
So my mom, she worked in corporate, but she always had a side hustle, if you want to call it that. So she did ceramics and stuff. So I always observed that. So that was in the background. And then the internet came out. Not that I was the guy leading the charge, but I remember in the neighborhood, there were 3 kids. And so we all grew up together, and we coded websites, HTML hardcore back when like, you know, you could do blinky stuff, if you can remember that, like, ooh, I can make this text flash. Like, I hope people listening in will have an appreciation for that. So I just remember like in the neighborhood, we would have competitions. Now I really wish, TC, like I had come up and said, I should monetize this, but this was all who could have the better website or who could put the most flashy things on it. Oh yeah. That's where it was like I think my spark. And then fast forward a few years, it didn't really change until I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which classic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I can't wait to give that to my kids when they're ready. And that made me realize like, oh crap, like I had graduated school, Florida State, go Noles. And I graduated and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I read that book and got jacked up on real estate, but quickly found that marketing was my thing. And so that's kind of my foray into the entrepreneurial starting companies and businesses. Oh,
very cool. So what was the experience where you went, marketing and you
I got this one. Yeah, this was good. So so I told you all that techie stuff. So like I was like the nerdiest kid, techiest kid in our bunch. So very introverted. My dad was in the military, so he bounced around, so lost the friends. And so I was introverted, only child. So I remember I read the book. I went to go meet the founder of Foreclosures Daily at the company, which was a startup company. And I said, listen, teach me how to buy a house and I'll work for free. Because I thought real estate was going to be the next Graziosi or real estate millionaire. But that wasn't my thing. It was marketing. And so I remember one day I read a Dan Kennedy book, which we'll come back to later, I'm sure. I read a Dan Kennedy book and he's like, hey, if you just create a letter and send it to all your clients and you put handwriting font, make it look real and personalize it, like you can make money. So here I was in this startup intern working for free, learning the real estate on the side. And I created this letter and I was so introverted at the time. I was afraid to take the phone calls. And so what I did, I put the salesperson's phone number on it. And so the phone blew up because they already had customers and I basically upsold them to another service. And her phone blew up and she instantly became my best friend because she didn't have to cold call anymore. People were calling her. And so in a startup, as you know, guys are looking around and are like, congratulations, you are now the marketing guy. And that was the moment that I got the marketing. I'm like, holy crap, we can put words on paper in print, in a teleseminar podcast and get people to do stuff. Like that was crazy to me.
Isn't that the most powerful thing? I mean, the first time you ran an ad, I remember the first time I ran an ad, it was in this thing called the newspaper, right? There was no internet. I guess there was, but it was AOL.com and maybe two others. But all of a sudden there's a flood of 125 college students knocking on my door in my office, and I went, "What is this power?" It was like I don't know if you felt it. It's like this tectonic shift in life of power. If you've ever been surfing or if you've ever, like, I was at Niagara Falls once and I got really, really close to the falls, and just the power of the planet kind of experience was what running that. I mean, that's what that ad, the power of advertising, anyway.
That was me. I felt it. I know what you're talking about. Like I felt it. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, cause I was always tech in college and I'm like, you can like I'd never taken a business class or a marketing class. And it fascinated me that we could put words on something and people would give you money. Like that just blew my mind.
You never took a marketing class?
Never did. I was tech. I was gonna ride the information wireless superhighway.
Really?
And,
but you're a major learner now. I mean, you're obviously in tech, but so tell me, so one of the things that I know about you is you're a swipe file just nerd, right? You're a techie on that too. Like, tell me about. I think swipe file is something that experienced guys talk about, and other people are like, "What are you talking about?" Tell us about your swipe files. They're legendary. I know.
My wife calls me a hoarder. I like to think I'm a collector of fine marketing antiquities. It's funny how perspective changes things. So over my years, because I became so fascinated that we could put words on paper or wherever in a podcast, whatever TV is, and get people to do stuff, I started just like saving everything. And obviously it's easier to save the print stuff. And so I collected newspaper ads, all sorts of things, scripts from infomercials, YouTube clips if I could get them. And so like I've got all these basically files of successful marketing that's worked in all these different industries, because I think you learn a lot going outside your industry and looking at what these guys or what these girls are doing over here and bringing it, being the first or early adopter into your industry. And so no need to reinvent the wheel, just model what's working, just pull it from somewhere else. And so I've got, bookcases of stuff. And now with computers, Evernote is, filled to the max, and I'm on the max plan there. But, the other thing too was I hated to write, Tom. Like, I don't know if I share this. Like, I remember growing up as a kid, I remember being up to like midnight and my parents were coaching me because I was a math and science guy. And I just remember struggling so hard with writing. So then I, for some reason later in life, became a copywriter. So what I remember is I never wanted to stare at a blank screen. I always wanted to look at something else and not copy it word for word, but take the hook, take the idea and make it my own. So that's what having a marketing swipe file will do.
So I've got to ask this. So what are your favorites? Do you have favorites that you go back to and you read and reread just to keep yourself sharp? Are there some that like they're your starter kit fodder of every time you start to produce something new? Tell me.
Yeah. So for a while at the Empire, as I call it, Speaking Empire, we did a ton of events and we coached people on how to do events. So I had like binders just on events. So I would go segment. So I found myself a lot of times looking at chiropractic events, dental events. I had the real estate swipe file, all the stuff that's going out. So I do remember spending a lot of time in that one. But sometimes I would go, like I had a lot of Dan Kennedy stuff. And early on in my career, I actually rewrote like a 40-page sales letter. And so when you rewrite it, it actually, it takes 3 times as much paper. So it took me forever. I used to get up at 5 a.m. and do this, because when you do that, you actually learn something than just reading it. That's more passive. So I studied a lot of Kennedy stuff, because he's my mentor. But then he would turn me on to like old school stuff, like his mentors. And so I've got like newspaper ads from the 1800s. And the reason to study that sort of stuff is, if you think about it, back in their day, it wasn't as easy as whipping out your smartphone and typing in a URL. Like, these people had to clip that thing out of the newspaper, put in money, or however they did it, money order, and then put a stamp on it and send it into the post office. So you would say it might be a lot harder back then to get someone to respond. And so classics.
Right. You really had to motivate them to take actions, not just click and autofill, right?
No clickbait back then.
No click. Get on the horse and buggy, ride into town, hand it to the postmaster on his horse.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome, man. You know what? I have yet to see this famous collection, so I think I need to make a visit. But
absolutely, anytime.
The master of the swipe file. Anyway, one of the secrets, right? I mean,
yeah, of course.
The more you focus and spend time on something, the more it rubs off on you, and the more you become capable. So I want to shift gears, because I know you're going through a reinvention process right now.
Yeah,
you've done this before, right? So you went through the you were an intern for Foreclosures Daily. You guys rocked it.
Yep.
Inc. 500.
That's right.
5,000, right? Just tore it up. And then that came to an end, and it was time for something new, and you reinvented and co-founded, effectively Speaking Empire. Can you take me through that process?
Yeah.
And how that's similar to some of the reinvention you're going through now?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely an open book. So yeah, Foreclosures Daily, started off as an intern, ended up exiting as the CMO. And the reason why there was I was working for somebody else. And so that was my big reason, is I wanted to go out. Like, I had all these gurus that were coming through, and it's like, hey, you can become a millionaire in real estate. And I knew real estate wasn't my thing, but I knew I needed to go out and do my thing. And so I decided to burn the bridge. Not like, I didn't leave like and piss people off, but I left. Right. Knowing not what I was going to do. Like, I didn't have like a ton of money. I was making good money, but I was younger back then, so I spent a lot of it.
Right? What we do, right?
Life lessons. So I just knew I wasn't growing anymore, and I needed to go do this for myself. And so I left there, and about a year later, I'd like to think it was because I left, but about a year later, the company went under. That was around the real estate market turn. So I think, divine design, whatever you want to call it, the universe, I think it was, I was fortunate to leave when I did. Sure. And so then I had to like go reinvent myself, figure out what am I going to do? So I immediately put myself in the environment, and I joined a mastermind group, and there was a guy in there that he had a business credit company, And I'm like, hey, let me do your marketing. And he's like, okay. And so he money changed hands. And then I became fascinated that he could get money for people's businesses. And I'm like, okay, I'm like 25-ish at the time. I'm like, let's get some credit from me because I don't know what I'm going to do. And, I need some credit cards. So I got $93,000. And I said, whoa. And I said,
oh, sweet.
You're doing this at 0% interest. That's, when they were handing it out like candy. And I said, listen, we need to make this an info product. Basically everything I had learned at Foreclosures Daily. And so I teamed up with him. He was the genius, the tech person behind the scenes. He was the guru. But the scientist, the smart guy, but I was the marketing and sales engine behind it. And so we did $1 million in sales there, launching that. And so then I wasn't passionate because marketing and influence and sales had always been my thing. So that's when my partner, Dave, who I used to work for at Foreclosures Daily, he said, hey, let's do something together. So we did a seminar in little old Tampa, Florida. We got 91 real estate gurus in a room, and we launched Speaking Empire. We didn't know what we were launching. We just said, listen, let's put people in a room, let's sell some stuff and see what happens. Have the market tell us. And the market said yes. And so that was 9 years ago. We launched Speaking Empire on that.
That's nice. You know what? I don't think I've heard that story. So you focused on real estate guys first and foremost. Was it agents or was it?
No, it was all the gurus. Yeah, because what had happened at Foreclosures Daily, we started off promoting them like we were the circuit, and then we looked at our profit margin and we said, "Oh, we need an internal product." So then we did. My former partner Dave sold a $9,000 real estate investing system to the public cold in 90 minutes. So people wanted to know that, and I was doing all these product launches that you knew me from at the time. So it was like a marketing and sales conference for speakers and authors and communicators. And so that's how Speaking Empire was born.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, very cool. Now you're in transition. You're at that run.
Yep.
Time for some new reinvention. What of those times is helping, that reinvention is helping you now?
Oh, relationships, big time. So I'm really excited for the future. Yeah. So I recently exited Speaking Empire because I just felt like I wanted to get back to my roots in tech. And so seminar business, and I think that marketplace is a tough marketplace to generate a lot of leads and experience fast growth. Like some of the stuff you've seen, like we saw at Foreclosures Daily. And so now that's what I'm looking for. And so what am I coming to leverage? Relationships. So I call guys like, TC, see what's going on in his world. I'm here, with my friend Chris, seeing what's up in his world. And so you never know. And that's the big lesson I want to communicate. I never thought I would be at this point. Like I just thought it would go on forever, or there would be a different way that I exited. And so I really wish I had worked relationships better. Not to say that I was pissing people off. But I could have fostered more, and because that's what I'm relying on now. I'm going back to people. And so,
absolutely.
My big advice for folks is, even though you're growing and running your business, take that extra time to go to that networking deal, take that extra call, check in with peeps, because you just never know, in your own business or, next iteration that you do, who can be of value.
That's right. It's really a Johnny Appleseed kind of a thing, right? We sometimes get so focused on the right now, what do we need now? And you just need to always spend a percentage of time just networking, helping people out, making a call, connecting, just keeping invested. Clayton Christensen talks about that, right? Make the long-term investments, not just the this quarter short-term, what do I need from you now kind of a thing. It makes a huge difference, right? So
but absolutely. Let me put one thing in there. Maybe someone will key off on this. The other thing is, like, you may be good at relationships, and I feel like I did pretty good there. I could have been better, but also stepping outside of my space. So I often went to things that were comfortable. So like right now I'm hanging out in incubators. Like I wish I had done this while I was at my previous, because that's where all the new tech is coming out. There's new relationships. So make sure to step outside your space and go fishing for new relationships and ideas.
Well, and I think one of the other things is it reminds you of your actual value, right? I mean, you get around a lot of people that are like, and you and I have had this conversation personally about, I think you're an astronaut, one of those guys that, we talked about this of, it's really easy when you do what you do and you think, it's just what I do. But then when you explain it to someone who has a different perspective, and they
Yeah.
they look at you like you're an astronaut, like, wow, you've done amazing big things, and you're shrugging it off a little bit when you shouldn't be, right? And
Yeah.
you should respect what you've done, just like somebody else respects it. And so going outside gives you, I think it really refreshes that perspective, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. In a world of, any type of category, you get a bunch of world-class people together and all of a sudden they become average.
Yep.
But not one of them is average, right? And
Yeah.
I think that refreshes it. Plus, like you said, it gives you a completely new dimension and a place to play where you go, wow, my talents are really valuable. Anyway, I'm excited as you explore all of
Yeah.
that. So, all right, man. So let's talk about found revenue. So,
Okay. Let's do it.
we're gonna start with the boring.
Okay.
And I'm emphasizing this a little bit more because I think so many people are looking for the exciting. I would, the way I look at it is I would like the thing that prints money on autopilot all the time, and I don't have to think about it, right? If there was that, and I think we all think in that, and then we get into things, and then you go, oh, let's do something new and exciting. So we'll get to new exciting in a minute, but I want to talk about boring.
Yeah.
Give me something boring where you've just picked up extra money in your business, or it's just like this added piece that's not that hard to do, but it just brings in the profit.
It's analytics. I mean, for me,
I knew you were going to say that.
It's analytics. I mean, I think it's in our world, like we've got people that are gifted at certain things, and I don't think that analytics are my gift. Like I get a high off of the creative, creating the hook, creating the offer, creating this.
Yes.
But it needs to get tested, and the world needs to tell us, not me in my cave or whatever. So the analytics is what matters. And so for me, I don't get I want to see crushing numbers. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want to sift through data. But that's the thing that's mission critical that we have to do in order to improve. And so having someone on your team, or just making yourself do it, is mission critical. So doing split testing, looking at KPIs, that sort of thing.
Absolutely, man.
Yep.
And it's not natural to a lot of people, right? Some people it comes very, very naturally, and others it's a learned skill, and others it's just, hey, we need somebody to crunch this and tell us where it is, right?
Yeah.
And follow the trends and pick those things up. So, okay, so I do want to talk about this. You have a book. No BS, Powerful Presentations. And in there, you talk about your offer architecture.
Yeah.
So there's I know you've talked about this in detail and at length. And what we want to do is I want to make sure that everybody knows that this process of what you've mastered in putting together offers is one of your gifts, right? You've got this, you've done this for years and years and years. And sitting at the feet of Dan Kennedy for so many years like you have, right? Just that experience and the other people in that room, plus the other masterminds you're in, plus all of the speakers that have come through that just come from every walk of life. And they really have bought into you through the Speaking Empire program going, all right, Dustin, help me come up with my offer, right? And so you've done this in so many different categories and industries, and you've done it, at the mega 7-8 figure level. You've done it for people who are just, it makes the difference between them having a job and having an entrepreneurial lifestyle income, right? And so there's this big range and depth to that. And so what I want to do is I want to make people aware of it. We're going to put a link to it on the podcast so they can go get one, so we appreciate you offering that.
Yeah.
Give me some background of how you put together offers, how you came to this offer architecture as a thing that, because there's so much in the creative space. Our good friend Russell Brunson was talking about, how do you get the big idea? And he goes, the reason I don't put it in my books is because it's not something I've systemized yet. You just have to flush and play with it until it comes out. Right. Well, you actually have offer architecture dialed into a process. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if you could share with us some of how you came about the process and some of the magic in the process.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lesson in just what you said. So first, before we get into that, and you hold me accountable, TC, I want to make sure I get everything covered. So, I'm not the only guy ever to talk about irresistible offers. There's gurus out there talking about it. Kennedy talks about it. But what I did do to set myself apart is I called it irresistible offer architecture. So that in itself is a lesson. So I went and got it trademarked. It's, went through, I got it, it proved. So now it's got the R behind it. And so now I instantly differentiate myself in the marketplace and use curiosity to get people intrigued by it. So that's a lesson in itself. So you may be a health coach. You may, I don't know, have a product or an invention. There's got to be some sort of secret sauce. So I think of some of these infomercials on TV, like especially the guy in the boat that sprays the tar, the black stuff down. I don't know if you've seen that, and it doesn't sink. Well, there's always some science. There's always this space age polymer. There's always this 3-step process. And so I think a lot of people really miss the opportunity to brand themselves and set themselves apart by not coming up with a name or a process and trademarking it. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, can I comment? I mean, the first 2 words, irresistible offer, are so common, right? Yep. And yet I'm guessing the reason you use them is there's such a strong appeal of, oh, I want that. I need that. I'm missing that. If I had that, I could do, I could conquer the world, right? And so staying true to the foundation and then adding the architecture to turn it into your secret polymer, right? Yep. If you will. I love the duality of that it's the fundamental that is so powerful, right? You say the word earthquake and everybody knows what that means, and it moves the world. Yep. And what you have moves the world, as opposed to, some strange name that people go, what is that? Right.
Yeah. Or no name. I mean, a lot of people, like I take a health coach, just to make it real. I take a health coach and, he or she may say, drink more water, hit the gym, 15 more minutes a day, get a smaller plate. We've all heard those. However, if we called it the Collins method of, rapid weight loss, now it has a little more meat. Even though I've heard the steps, well, at least there's a guy behind it and it sounds more official. And so it gets you to stop and think. Better off would be like you just mentioned, the benefit. So irresistible offer, well, people want that. And then I threw a word on behind it. And so, and I'm not saying that like knee jerk, like, oh, I just plucked this out of thin air and I'm deceiving people. It's no, I came up with the name and a process to get people excited about it. And then there actually are 9 components of it. So.
Yeah, exactly. So do you want to go through some of that, or do you want to, I think the full information, if you guys go get this, it's pretty killer.
Yeah, they can.
I mean,
they can check it out.
Pretty long and detailed.
I'll give 1 or 2. You want me to do that?
You know what? Why don't we do this? I know you have. Why don't we do this, and we'll just cross promote Michelle. She doesn't even know this, but you did a podcast with Michelle.
Yep.
And it was.
I break it down. Yeah.
And it's over an hour plus. So why don't we put the link to that as well? Let me make a note of that.
Okay.
Because that was one I put on my favorites. Like, I mean, I know the architecture. I've read the book. I've sat with you time and time again. And yet that just gave me, I mean, I've made an offer or 2 in my life, but, right. I mean, it's just literally when you get something that's pure gold, you just hang on to it. And for me, frankly, being the behind the scenes guy, I've always preferred and loved when somebody has their specific thing and I don't have to say it. I can just go, hey, to do offers, here's Dustin's offer process. I love some of the shortcuts Russell's doing with ClickFunnels. I love, the formulaic things and we could go on and on and on, but I love that it's so specific that you can just go through and answer the questions and you've just come out so far ahead, especially if you're trying to get, that you're just not standing out in your market, right? And the difference between, and this is what people asked us all the time, was like, well, gosh, what's the difference in, your guru stuff and my content's better? And we're like, you know what? We have an offer that just absolutely crushes it and everybody wants it and we can buy it so affordably and we ROI on it, right? Those are the business pieces that matter. The content has to be there to deliver what you promise. But, all of those other offer pieces are what really makes the difference between somebody who's making a living at job level security to just knocking it out of the park because you have something that is so special that so many people want that it makes all of the other mechanics work better, right? Yeah. And I think that's the first time I've articulated that as well. And you've got this gift of it and I'll just be candid. I've been to so many Speaking Empire meetings that I've seen people who they want to achieve this and they're doing okay and they have a specialty, but they're milk toast when it comes to their offer and they don't stand out and they struggle, right?
Yep.
Watch these people evolve over time under your tutelage, you and the team at Speaking Empire. And
Yep.
but when it comes to an offer, and then, then I see them a few months later and, and maybe it's a year or two that it takes it to really sink in for them to get it sometimes. But what I love watching is when it clicks and all of a sudden they're getting market share almost on demand, right? And they're building this business and they're just going, yeah, I just plugged, and they say it like this: I just plugged in the formula. I did what Dustin said, and they learned that I now know the process. And I don't know how many of those people could go do it again without your help one-on-one again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But because they have it, they're standing out and they have market share and they're crushing it, right?
Absolutely.
And they didn't necessarily, and this is me being as judgmental and prejudiced as could be. They were people that when I met them, maybe the first time that I went, you know what, that's really cool. I hope they do well, but they weren't the rock star talent, obvious major league talent that day. And yet a year or two later, they're crushing it. And you're going, wow, here it comes, right? They're becoming world-class because they got the offer up there and now all of the pieces are coming together and they're starting to get it. And some have gone and done that and others are, well on their way. But to me, this is where it starts is with that. So I just wanted to kind of tell that story of as I've seen it from, mixing and mingling with your people. Right. And
cool. I appreciate it.
You guys who are listening, what I'm talking about. You guys are killing it. And, crossing Dustin and Dave's path obviously made a huge difference. So anyway.
Love it.
Hopefully there was some value in there, not me just going, gosh, Dustin, you're the GOAT, man. But you're freaking awesome at it. So let's do one or two if we have time.
Okay.
Got a couple minutes. Some of the things that what's the difference maker? What's one or two that you can do,
Difference maker for sure is this. And I got this from your world, Tom, like infomercials. So, and copywriting. So in copywriting, they always taught us to write the order form first. And they always said, listen, you have to think about if this gets separated from the rest of the package, which means like, they lost the sales letter. So all they see is an order form. So in the infomercial world, if all they see is the closed or, multiple closes throughout, do they buy? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people are like, no, I'm going to, they don't give thought to it. They just say, no, I've got this, 50-minute sales letter, or I've got this, hour and a half presentation, or I've got this, and people are going to come in, they're going to watch it. I always thought that no one's going down the path that I want them to go. So if I were speaking on an event or doing a webinar, I'm going to pretend that they're distracted for 60 minutes. The kids are screaming in the background. They've got Gmail open while I'm trying to do my thing on the webinar, and they are just distracted. But magically, if at the end, when I'm closing or presenting the offer, if they only saw that, would they buy? Now, some of us are selling sophisticated stuff, and that's kind of a tall order. I get it. But bringing that energy and bringing that intensity is, how do I create the offer so compelling that they say, Tom, I missed your whole podcast. I missed your whole presentation. I missed it, but you got to tell me more, or how can I get a piece of that? If they're coming with that, then you've done good. And so a lot of people aren't thinking about that. They aren't thinking about creating an offer that overcomes objections. Real quick example. If time is a big objection, could you include a time management component module interview with some guru that overcomes time? And so you can sit there in the close and say, listen, I don't care if you have an hour or 5 minutes a day, you're going to be able to leverage this system because I've included this time management. That's a real quick, crass example of overcoming an objection just in the offer. So,
well, it's powerful. I mean, and I bet you've watched as much time watching infomercials, DVRing infomercials,
yes,
and the commercials, right, as you do just your favorite Netflix, right?
I do.
But every one of those has those elements, right? And when it's you as the target audience, you start popping, right? Your blood starts pumping. You're like, yes, and sometimes I think people don't even know what the objection is in their mind, but it's overcome because they already know the conversation that's coming next, right?
Yep.
Like the offer can anticipate what the person's going to be thinking next from stage to stage. And in your offer, I love that, man. It's huge. And to clarify, it's that the offer can stand alone without all of the previous content to make someone go, wow, I want this, tell me more, and or to go ahead and do it. Where you hear so many people saying, gosh, if only, and I'm going to make a little fun and just exaggerate it a little bit because this isn't entirely true, but people go, well, gosh, if only they would just opt into everything and read all my blog posts, watch my webinar from end to end and take notes and compare notes with everybody on Reddit. And then they would really understand how valuable my offer is, right?
Yeah. Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, right? That one person, might not be the ideal customer either.
Yeah.
Anyway,
not going to happen.
So, but yeah, to make the offer stand alone is obviously powerful. All right. How about number 2? What's the second one here?
Number 2 would be to, a lot of times, well, I guess this is more in a presentation or, your sales messaging, starting with the end in mind. So whenever I sit down to write an offer, I actually start with knowing who the audience is. So that's my only little caveat. I need to know who the audience is, and then I write the offer. Not the testimonials, not, the content or the sales structure that leads up to it. So I reverse engineer it. And so now whenever you are creating whatever it is you're creating, you say, well, does that story really further the sale? Does that even make sense? And so I think the second most important thing for people to consider is starting with the end in mind. I'm assuming that you know who your audience is. You know that, then write the offer first, then write the sales message after.
Right.
Reverse engineering.
Because it's now you got me speechless again. The idea of knowing who you're talking to, right? Because if you're talking to mom, you're going to describe something different than if you're talking to your high school friend or your coworker or whatever, and knowing what language to use so that you know what story is actually going to connect with them, and right, and what pain point is going to connect with them, and that's what you're saying. I'm guessing, right? So
that's
I love that end in mind. And we used to just sit down and just say, hey, let's craft. What do we want to pitch? What do we want to sell? How do we want to sell it? And you understand your audience, and you come up with a pitch first, and then you package it of, oh yeah, we can deliver that, we can fulfill that, we can put those pieces together, right? But I'm assuming I'm just confirming that that's how you're saying it, because we used to go, hey, what do you want to say? And people used to look at us like, are you crazy? Can I say anything? And we say, well, no, there's some legal we're going to come back to. But step 1, what do you want to say? Let's just dream that we have unlimited time, resources, and ability, but let's just connect as detail as possible so that we have people drooling over and going, I want that. And then going, hey, how do we build that? How do we make that connection? How do we make that deliverable? And that allows you to add the substance, obviously to the deliverable. So
absolutely remove the constraints. That's the big thing. Like I used to do it, and I remember because I was thinking about, how are we going to fulfill it, and we'll be upside down if we put the Bentley in with this biz op offer. But like if you let your mind, if your mind is constrained, then there's no opportunity, there's no possibility. And I get it. Like putting a Bentley in with a real estate home study course for $995, you're going to be massively upside down. But like just the example of like, well, let's put something up to like, what if we could give them a lease, right? Like, so if you don't even start going down the path, or, like what if they could win it at the conference? Like, and so if you never open up your mind to those possibilities, you leave a lot out.
Well, I think the crazy dreaming is where you're able to add some factor in that completely sets you apart, right? That is that big difference maker, right? So, it's super powerful to not have any constraints when you're starting. So
absolutely
love that, dude. All right, man. Okay. So now I've got some questions for you. So what, as you were going through, this question just popped in my mind. So as you were doing Speaking Empires, you were doing Foreclosures Daily, and even now, what's something that has surprised you along the way? For better, for worse, or like, and I guess I'm even thinking, what was magical that surprised you along the way, where you went, oh wow, there's magic there, and it just kind of boosted you forward, turboed you forward?
I think, I guess the way, and you can, again, call me out if I'm not answering the question directly, but
we're just listening to you, man. You're doing awesome. Big time.
I think of like putting myself in the environment. Like I don't really remember it being chaotic, and I look back and I do remember. So I know that's a duality there. but like the environment. And so like, if you're not getting enough data, if you're not testing enough, it's hard to grow quickly. And so I think I've been very fortunate, and the magic has been, I just need to get myself in situations where it's crazy and chaotic. And I know I don't, like, who wants to be inserted into a stressful environment, but that's really where you grow. That's where you learn, because you're testing so many different things on a short timeline. Like they say, without a deadline, nothing gets done. And so it's from that craziness that you'll learn a ton. I mean, TC, you've told me all the crazy stories. I pick your brain for these stories of when it was first going, and how, like, guys are standing and they don't have desks, and it's just the Wild West. And, you learned a crap ton in those stages, and then eventually it peters off. And so I always have to remind myself to find those environments and to insert myself into those situations where I can learn a lot quickly.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I swear, as you know, I swear by it, that doing things live and doing things with a crushing deadline and with everybody engaged, and there's adrenaline going, and it just turns on all your faculties on 100x anything you could ever create without those things, right? And it's just, I love that, man.
You know what? I'm looking at the sport.
What comes out, right? You're like,
exactly.
Oh, we had no idea. We were just trying to make it happen, and next thing you know, boom.
I'm looking at the sports behind you, and I know you're a big sports guy. And, it's just like, when you play sports, you've got your plays that you're running, and the game is close, and then miracles happen. I mean, at the time of this, to keep this evergreen, at the time, there's always a moment in sports, I'm thinking of football in particular right now, but there's always a time where it's like, wow, the magic sauce just came, and like, how did they just do it? Like, they just pulled it off. And it's that, there's a deadline, there's a game to play, there are rules. And so, like, how do you win? And out of that comes the magic.
Well, and so many times it's like the question, and it's a surprise. You're like, wow, how did that happen?
Yes.
And you almost can't recreate the magic. You can only recreate the environment and hope the magic comes, right?
Yes.
And, because as you and I both know, there's a lot of times you're in those and it just comes and goes, and it was an adrenaline-filled, deadline crunching event. And it happened, and it was fine, and things went forward. But every now and then, there's this major magic that happens, and I'm glad that was the thing. I think that's a powerful one, because it so many times we sit down, we try to logically go, okay, I'm going to work for 90 minutes on this task, and there's a lot, there's a lot of that we all have to do, but putting yourself in a game situation in a real crunch time, I think is really valuable. I love that, man. All right. So now back to Mom. What's Mom most proud of with Mr. Dustin Mathews?
My boys, I think putting the family together. I would think so. The desire to have grandchildren. I also like to think, and I'll speak to her next time I see her, that her entrepreneurial spirit sowed the seeds for me. And so she may not have gotten to do, I never asked her, but she may not have gotten to do the things that she truly wanted to do at scale. And so I saw her dabble and have success. Yeah. And so because she was raising me and just, life and whatever. And so I think, I am the recreation of her, and I am out making it happen on her behalf. So I think she would be most proud of that. And then if she really knew, like, I don't think she really knows what I do. Sometimes it's really hard to explain to your loved ones and family members that think we're crazy. How I come about the game, like, I truly come to serve. Like, yes, I want to make money. And I think in my industry, where sometimes it's really tainted, based on all the feedback I'm hearing now, which I've heard for years, but I'm a humble guy. It's coming back, and I think she would like how I'm playing the game and thinking long-term with relationships.
Yeah. As we all talk, the waters are always shark infested. Every industry is shark infested.
Yeah.
And the question comes up, can a good guy win in the shark infested waters?
Yeah.
And you're absolute, one of the guys that's a great guy, good family man, obviously doing things, and contributing not only to you, your family, and those around you, but I think you make the world a better place because of it. And, that's all world peace talk. But
Thank you, sir.
I'm guessing that came from mom and dad as much as anything, because you've always been that guy, and the number one commodity in our business is trust. Right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
When trust erodes, it's tough, and so it's interesting how trust being the top commodity, of course good guys do well, right?
Yeah.
You're that's what you do, is you're there to serve. You're trustworthy, and who doesn't love doing business with a cool guy like you? And anyway,
thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
yeah, man. So what's the future look like, man? What's
Angel investing for sure. I love growth. So I love being around it. I'm young in the scheme of things. And so I think for me, it's going to be in the weeds. It's going to be building the new thing. I've already found it's taking someone else's idea and plussing it and helping them get, like I found that in my discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for me, it's going to be a grind, which I'm excited to play and be involved with. But I think it will eventually get to the point where I still love growth and I love the energy of it. So I'm going to be investing in companies and mentoring and guiding, because that's what I do. And I want to serve and help and help people get to that next level. So right now it's finding the next opportunity and maybe in the tech space, fast growth and creating one more success story there. And then, getting into angel investing. That's at least the plan for now.
Oh, very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I love it, because you have all of the elements to make that happen. And I'm as we've talked offline, I'm stoked for what's next for you, because like I said, it just gets bigger and better. And, as Will Smith said, the bigger and better you get, it just exposes more of who you already are. And you're an awesome dude, man. So, all right.
I appreciate it.
Dan Patrick style question.
Okay.
When it comes to playtime, I know you like to play. I know you like to play marketing.
Yeah.
But I also know you like to play. What's your playtime?
Tennis. I'm a tennis guy. I haven't been playing because it's been raining and cold here. But yeah, I love to play tennis. I used to do some mountain biking. The kids are making it fun and interesting. So my wife and I, Missy, we would go mountain biking. And I know that's like, I feel weird saying it when I live in the state of Florida. There's no mountains.
Yeah, right.
So it's not
my next question.
That's not your style of mountain biking. They actually dig out of the earth and create these things, but nothing like you guys. But yeah, it's tennis, and then really hanging with the boys now and figuring out what gets them excited, like building Legos again. That has come back to the front.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Legos, as you know, are huge in our family, so that's fun. And you've got you and Missy and the boys. I mean, what a great family you guys have, and so. Anyway, man, this is unless there's a parting. You know what? Let's summarize a little bit and just do a parting. Thank you for coming on, you guys. Dustin Mathews, always here to serve. Hopefully, you got some just one of the many nuggets he shared, and there's more. You can look him up on social media, but as well at the it's nobspresentations.com, right, where the complete architecture is. It's free. Right, it's just come and get it. Yep. You can get the book at Amazon. He co-wrote it with Dan Kennedy, which Dan has written a few books with some people, but he's very, very selective. There's a small elite circle of people that Dan's written books with. And Dustin, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's just wonderful of just encapsulating all of the work that you've done, and just I think it's just been awesome. So I appreciate your friendship, man. And
anytime.
We talk all the time. So, but I'm looking forward to the next round of Dustin Mathews. It's very exciting. So thank you for being a guest on the Found Revenue podcast.
TC, I want to thank you big time for having me on. I have a favor. Can I pull a favor on you?
Throw it out. Let's do it.
So I have a favor. I'm here with the boys at Sales Message. I want to test this from a podcast. So if it's cool, I want to see the viability of this. So anybody that love this interview and just wants to get a hold of me, this is one of those rare opportunities where I'm ridiculously accessible. So what I want you to do is text 727, and you can put this in show notes, right, Tom?
Yep, we can do this.
Okay, 727-619-2080, and just type your name so I know who it is. I did this earlier, and no one's name came up. I didn't know how to address it. But if you want to ask me a question, I would love to be of value and service to you. And if I'm so inclined, I'll record a video and shoot it back to you. So if you have a marketing question or on the book, I'm happy to serve. And then also too, I just want to see what kind of traction we get from it, and do my little market test. That's a way to provide value back to me.
Absolutely, man. Well,
thanks, man.
To provide value back to you, and you're offering to spend personal time with anybody who asks. That's I think that's an easy one to do. So,
let me give you a caveat. I may not get back to you right away, but I do want to test this out, and you've got this awesome window here.
Yeah, I would tell anyone who's listening, take advantage of that. If you want just any marketing question, Dustin has been up and down the ladder in multi dimensions with all different shapes and sizes of companies, and huge, powerful insights as you got probably today, and you can tell there's a lot more there. So hit him up. Text 727-619-2080.
Oh, that's right.
2080. My handwriting got in my way there. 727-619-2080. Type your name in with the question, and Dustin will get back to you. Wow. I'm going to do that, man.
Do it.
All right. Okay. Dustin Mathews, thank you so much, man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Found Revenue with Tom Collins. If you thought this podcast was helpful, please leave a review. Thank you for your support. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Found Revenue. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.